can tell you a little bit about myself. I have more than 20 years of hands-on experience supporting small business owners in a wide variety of roles. My background includes sales, customer service, team coordination, and general operations. I also spent quite a few years raising 6 kids while homesteading in a very rural environment, and that helped to hone my adaptability, problem solving. Takes a lot of resourcefulness to live that lifestyle. I use a facilitator approach to bring out the best in a team. I have a pretty strong appetite for learning, and I enjoy diving into complex and unfamiliar challenges. Right now, I'm working towards an Associate of Applied Science degree at Lane Community College, and I expect to finish that in first quarter of 2026. I like the outdoors. I like hiking and driving the trails of the back roads in the Pacific Northwest. It fills a lot of my leisure time. I also like to make and invent things. I've done home appliances. I really like to do Bluetooth speakers. I've even done some simple robotics projects. My most long-term passion is music, but the most important thing in life is family and friends. The moments we all share together are what really make a life, and I like to bring that ethos to work with me too. I like to have fun while I work. But while I'm pursuing my degree, I've been working as a general handyman for a property manager, and before that, I served as a general manager in commercial agriculture. I led teams that fluctuated seasonally between 5 and 50 people. I also designed, built, and ran most of the infrastructure on those farms, water, electrical systems, and it was up to me to keep operations moving when conditions got unpredictable. So what I'm looking for small businesses that value versatile, collaborative leaders who are comfortable taking on a wide range of responsibilities. That's that's what I'm up to here. I have a story. In 2020, while I was working as a general manager with my biggest client, Applegate Horticulture, we hit a kind of an existential snag with a contractor. This tractor operator was late coming in to mow and plow the fields for spring planting. That meant that we had to plant immediately after plowing, and that's not how the planting machine is supposed to work. It doesn't. It's not intended to be used that way. So after this guy spent a half a day trying and failing to get his equipment to work, he asked me to tell my client that he wasn't willing to do the job anymore. And that was a big problem because there are no more tractors to rent. There's only about as many tractors as people need in a community like that. And so people schedule this stuff months in advance. We would not have been able to find a affordable, commercially viable option for us to get the crops planted in time if we couldn't get this guy to agree to continue to do the work that he had agreed on. So I got the owner, my client, and the tractor operator on a conference call with me. And right off the bat, almost they started to argue about whose fault it was and stuff like that. Things were going downhill pretty fast, and I knew that I needed to quickly diffuse this if we were going to have a crop this year. We were looking, basically at insolvency if we couldn't get this crop in. Total failure. I had seconds to act. So I interrupted their argument about a story uh, about the time that I spent working as a wildland firelighter. I was like, hey guys, hold on, I have a solution. Listen to this for a minute. I spent years fighting wildland fire, and you would not believe how amazing it is, how quick and efficient it is for a fire crew to dig line. So they dig a line in single file, and each person only hits the ground once or twice before they take a step. So the first person disturbs the soil a little bit, second person does a little bit more. By the time you get to the end of the line, the last person is using the side of a shovel to scrape the very last bits of forest stuff off of bare earth. And you've got this nice, tidy trail snaking through the forest. What we had at that point in the middle of this argument was not a bunch of forest roots that are really tough to dig through. What we had was a plowed field, and what we needed was rows of crops. So I told him, guys, I can organize an assembly line. It'll work a lot like a fire crew cuts hotline. And with the help of your tractor and just a couple more farm hands than we already have around here, we can do this. They were sold on the idea, and the contractor didn't give us any more trouble. I set up the line crew for the next day, and the crop was planted on time and within budget. That crisis was averted.
So in 2022, I was working with Click Solar. I was selling solar power systems for residential homeowners in Medford, Oregon. I was responsible for generating all my own leads, and salespeople always need more leads. I was at a friend's barbecue at a local park. Not I wasn't there working, but just for leisure, good company. While I was there, I struck up a conversation with another group at the park. One of those new people that I met mentioned to me that a friend of hers from church had been talking about wishing she could afford solar. She invited me to come to a Sunday service to hear the word and maybe have a chat with her friend. I was feeling I was feeling kind of uncomfortable about the whole thing because I thought that maybe going to a church service with the intention of doing business might somebody might find that disrespectful. Anyway, she assured me that people do business talk outside the church all the time, super common, and that the community would be thrilled to share their service with me. So I went, and what a really awesome group of people. I made contacts that day that snowballed into my highest grossing month during my tenure with Click Solar. And it just goes to show, never turn your nose up at an honest invitation.